We are told that the history of our planet is written in the soil. We are told that the story of humanity is buried in the first few meters of dirt, waiting for a professor with a brush to sweep away the dust and reveal a pot shard or a bone. We believe that we know what lies beneath our feet, but we are wrong. The most important discoveries on Earth are not made by archaeologists in sun hats. They are not made in the shallow graves of the Neolithic era. The most terrifying discoveries are made by men who do not care about history, men who are looking for gold, for diamonds, for uranium. We are talking about the miners. Deep mining crews in Nevada, in the frozen shield of Canada, in the gold veins of South Africa and the steppes of Kazakhstan are piercing the skin of the world. They go where no human is supposed to go. They bore through geological layers that date back hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. Usually, they find rock, they find ore, they find the silence of deep time. But sometimes, they find the impossible. There are whispers in the industry, stories told in break rooms and bars, stories that never make it into the official reports. Stories of drill bits punching through into empty voids that shouldn't exist. Stories of smooth, polished columns found 3 miles down. Stories of tunnels that were not dug by hands, but cut by machines that predate the existence of mankind. These are the anomalies, the structures that break the timeline. And every time one is found, the procedure is the same. The shaft is sealed, the concrete is poured, the non-disclosure agreements are signed, and the discovery vanishes. Today, we are going to open the file. We are going to descend into the crushed depth of the crust to look at the forbidden architecture of a world that existed before us. The year was 1987. The location was the high desert of Nevada, 70 miles from the nearest paved road. A private contractor, a subsidiary of a major defense conglomerate, was conducting deep earth geological surveys. The official cover story was geothermal energy exploration. The reality was likely something else entirely. They were drilling deep, deeper than commercial regulations typically allow. The drill string was pushing past the 10,000-foot mark, roughly 3 kilometers straight down. At this depth, the pressure is immense. The heat is suffocating. The rock is older than the last ice age. It is a layer of the earth where no biological life should exist. Suddenly, the resistance on the drill vanished. The machinery screamed as the bit dropped into a void. The sensors went wild. They hadn't hit a pocket of gas or water. They had hit a pocket of empty air. When they lowered the cameras and the remote sensing equipment into the breach, the operators in the control trailer stopped speaking. They were expecting a natural cavern, a rough, jagged hole formed by water or tectonic shifts. But what they saw was geometry. The camera revealed a colossal spherical chamber, approximately 40 meters in diameter. It was perfect. The symmetry was mathematical. But it was the walls that terrified the engineers. They were not rough rock. They were smooth. The analysis showed that the rock had been vitrified, turned into glass. It looked as if a source of immense concentrated heat, something akin to a continuous laser or a plasma torch of industrial magnitude, had burned the sphere out of the solid bedrock. The walls were slick, reflective, and uniform. As the camera panned down, it revealed details that defied all geological logic. There were ledges, platforms carved directly out of the walls at regular intervals. They were not random shelves. they were architectural features. The team lowered a radiation sensor. The background radiation in the chamber was lower than on the surface. It was sterile. It was silent. It was waiting. Consider the implications. The rock surrounding this sphere was formed hundreds of thousands of years ago. This means the chamber was created before the first Homo sapiens walked out of Africa, before the first stone tool was chipped, before the last ice age covered the hemisphere. Who builds a 40-meter glass sphere 3 kilometers underground in an era when humans were barely discovering fire? For 3 days, the team mapped the anomaly. They found no entrance and no exit. It was a sealed bubble, a time capsule, or perhaps a survival cell. On the 4th day, black SUVs arrived. The site was declared a hazard zone due to unstable seismic activity. The shaft was filled with a high-grade concrete slurry, sealing the dome forever. The crew was disbanded. The data was erased. But one question remains. If you seal a room that deep underground, are you keeping people out, or are you keeping something in? We move from the deserts of America to the deepest scars on the planet, the gold mines of South Africa. Here, humanity digs deeper than anywhere else. Some mines, like Mponen, reach depths of 4 kilometers. The temperature of the rock is over 60 degrees Celsius. The pressure is enough to explode solid rock into shrapnel. It is a hostile, alien environment. Humans cannot survive there without massive air conditioning systems. And yet, in 2009, a mining crew blasting a new tunnel at the 4,000-meter level broke through into a pre-existing corridor. At first, they thought they had intersected an old mine shaft from the 19th century. But as they shone their headlamps down the darkness, they realized the impossibility of what they were seeing. The tunnel was not rough-hewn. It was not supported by timber or steel beams. It was self-supporting. The shape was not square or arched like a human mine. It was an oval, a perfect ellipse. The floor was flat, the walls were smooth, and the height was uniform, exactly 2.2 meters high, consistent for kilometers. Geologists were called down to date the rock. The findings were shattering. The stratum they were tunneling through was over 200,000 years old. The dust on the floor of the mysterious tunnel had been undisturbed for eons. But the most chilling detail was found on the walls. Under the harsh light of the halogen lamps, the miners saw marks. Not the chaotic chip marks of pickaxes, not the blast marks of dynamite. They saw parallel, vertical striations, uniform grooves. Imagine a machine with a rotary cutting head slicing through solid granite like it was butter. These were tool marks, machine marks. But they were made at a time when the most advanced technology on Earth was a sharpened stick. The tunnel intersected with others, a network, a grid, crossing at perfect 90-degree angles. Who needs a transportation network 4 kilometers beneath the surface of the Earth? Who possessed the technology to ventilate it, to cool it, to light it? The miners reported a strange sensation in these tunnels, a hum, a low-frequency vibration that wasn't mechanical but felt like it was coming from the stone itself. Some reported nausea. Others reported a feeling of being watched. The mining corporation did not call the universities. They did not call the media. They recognized that this discovery would halt their operations. It would turn their gold mine into a protected heritage site. It would cost them billions. So they did what corporations do. They collapsed the entrance. They detonated charges to seal the anomaly. and continued digging in a different direction. They chose profit over history, and the tunnels returned to the dark. Our journey takes us north to Saskatchewan, Canada, the McArthur River uranium mine. This region sits on the Canadian Shield, some of the oldest, hardest rock on the planet. The geology here is stable. It hasn't moved in billions of years. If you want to build something to last forever, you build it here. During an expansion project aiming to tap into a new vein of high-grade uranium ore, the excavation team encountered a structural anomaly. They didn't find a cave, they found a hallway. But the geometry was wrong. It wasn't round, it wasn't oval, it was hexagonal. A six-sided corridor, perfectly symmetrical, cut through rock that was dated at 1.8 billion years old. Let that number sink in, 1.8 billion years. This is not before humans. This is before dinosaurs. This is before complex life on land. This is deep time. And yet, there it was. Engineering. The walls of the hexagon were not just cut, they were polished. One worker, who later spoke anonymously on a cryptic forum, described the walls as looking spun. He claimed that the texture looked like the rock had been bored out by a device that melted and polished the stone simultaneously as it moved forward. The corridors were empty. No artifacts, no bones, no trash, just the cold, radioactive silence of the ancient Earth. But they didn't feel empty. The workers described the corridors as feeling lived in. There was a sense of purpose to the layout. The corridors branched off into smaller rooms, also hexagonal, creating a structure that resembled a gigantic fossilized honeycomb. One detail stands out from the leaked testimony. A worker found a section of the wall that looked discolored. He described it as a thermal scar, a scorch mark, as if a billion years ago something in that hallway had exploded or a weapon had been fired. The stone was fused and blackened in a splash pattern. The company dismissed it. Unusual geological formation, they said. Natural crystallization, they said. They filled the hexagonal corridors with waste rock and concrete backfill. They erased the evidence. But the question remains, what kind of civilization builds geometric highways in the bedrock of a continent almost 2 billion years ago? What were they transporting? And where did they go? These stories, Nevada, South Africa, Canada, might seem like isolated incidents, random anomalies in a chaotic world. But in 2018, the narrative changed. The dots were connected. An immense data dump appeared briefly on a secured dark web server. The source claimed to be a senior archivist for a multinational resource extraction conglomerate, a company that owns mines on every continent. The leak didn't contain gold records or diamond yields. It contained event reports. The documents described not just 3, but 12 distinct anomalies found in deep Earth operations over the last 40 years. But the centerpiece of the leak was a map, a global schematic titled Silent Cities Network, Phase 3. The map overlaid the known anomalies. It drew lines connecting the dome in Nevada to the tunnels in Africa, to the hexagons in Canada, and to other unlisted sites in Kazakhstan, Brazil, and Antarctica. The map suggested a system. The documents utilized a specific terminology: subterranean habitation units. The internal memos discussed these sites not as ruins, but as infrastructure.
They noted similarities in the vitrified stone technology. They noted the consistent depth profiles. They noted that these structures were always found in the most geologically stable plates of the crust. This was not a series of random caves. This was a blueprint. The whistleblower's note suggested that the mining companies know exactly what they're hitting. They have a protocol. They map it, they strip any loose artifacts, and then they seal it. Why? Because acknowledging these structures would mean admitting that we are not the landlords of this planet. We are merely the tenants living on the roof. The silent cities are not just voids. They are the empty shell of a global civilization that lived, thrived, and built a world-spanning network beneath the surface, protected from the sun, protected from the asteroids, protected from the ice. They are closed industrial zones. Forbidden archaeology. So what are we looking at? Who built the domes and the hexagons? The leaked files and the miners' testimonies lead us to three terrifying possibilities. The first hypothesis is the pre-Ice Age civilization. We know that Earth's surface is volatile. Ice ages scrape the land clean, meteors burn the forests, solar flares sterilize the soil. If a highly advanced human or near-human civilization existed 100,000 years ago and they saw a cataclysm coming, where would they go? They wouldn't build spaceships. That is too risky. They would dig. They would use their advanced thermal technology to bore into the stable crust. They would build their cities in the deep, warm earth, tapping into geothermal energy. These structures are the bunkers of a lost humanity that moved downstairs to survive the apocalypse. The second hypothesis is the previous tenants. The hexagonal tunnels in Canada are 1.8 billion years old. Humans did not exist. Mammals did not exist. This suggests a non-human intelligence, humanity before humanity. Perhaps evolution has happened here before. Perhaps a reptilian or insectoid intelligence rose to an industrial level, realized the surface was uninhabitable, and built a global hive in the bedrock of the continent. And then they died out. Or they left, or they ascended, leaving their empty stone shells for us to find eons later. The third hypothesis is the shadow biosphere. This is the most unsettling theory. What if they are not ancient? The tunnels in South Africa felt watched. The dome in Nevada was sterile. The map is labeled Phase 3. What if this is not a ruin? What if it is current infrastructure? What if there is another form of life, a technological civilization that has always lived below us? While we play in the dirt on the surface staring at the stars, the true masters of the Earth operate the machinery inside the planet. They are not aliens, they are the original owners, and we are merely the moss growing on the ceiling of their world. We walk on pavement, we build skyscrapers that scrape the clouds, we draw maps and call them countries, we claim ownership of this blue marble, but the drill bits tell a different story. Every time a miner breaks through into a smooth, vitrified hall in the deep dark, our arrogance is shattered. We are finding the plumbing, the wiring, the foundations of a house we didn't build. We are finding cities that are older than the ice caps, corridors that are older than the breath in our lungs. If beneath our feet lies a network of silent cities, massive, empty, and waiting, then the history books are not just incomplete, they are wrong. We are searching for aliens on Mars. We are listening for radio signals from Orion, but the greatest mystery isn't above us. It is down there. And the scary part isn't that these cities are empty. The scary part is, what if the lights come back on? What if the landlords decide to evict the tenants on the roof?